Hello there. So it's another full moon, which means it is time for a tarot reading. Let's see what the world is up to. Um, Before going into the reading, why don't we analyze what's happening astrologically? So this is really interesting. We have a full moon, and not only that, we also have a lunar eclipse happening. I don't know exactly when the lunar eclipse is happening, but whenever an eclipse is happening, significant changes are taking place. When the With the lunar eclipse, we're experiencing emotional changes. We're experiencing changes of how we perceive the world through our emotions, how we perceive ourselves through our emotions. And considering it's a full moon and this eclipse is taking place, even though it's I think it's called a penumbral eclipse. There are three different kinds of eclipse: a total eclipse, partial eclipse, and penumbral. And so even though just a tiny bit, how to describe that? I guess just the way to put it, basically, even though it's not a full eclipse, it's still very prominent. Considering it's a full moon while this is happening. So this is very interesting, very, very, very interesting. Especially considering we're in Sun and Libra right now, which is a very fascinating energy to be in, considering where Pluto is Capricorn and Jupiter in Cancer, that square going on. Not to mention with Uranus and Aries too. Our time spent in Libra this year in 2013 has been very challenging in certain respects. We've been challenged by that square with Pluto to rejuvenate ourselves, to understand ourselves to a deeper degree, and clean out any of the emotional shit, that's accumulated. And getting out of our own way, figuring out how to. And this has been for the past month, but especially during this time right now as the culmination of this cycle of learning how to get out of our own way in interactions with others. None of us can go through life compromising all of the time, just giving away our power to other people. And we also can't go through life, despite however many people try and believe that this is possible and healthy. We also can't go through life expecting everything, to go our way, expecting for our will to matter, for our power to overcome and conquer all. It's really important to find that balance. And with this full moon, just as with every year, when we have Sun in Libra, Moon in Aries, we are learning how to balance ourselves in relation to other people. We're learning when it's appropriate to stand up for ourselves, and when it's appropriate rather to stand up for ourselves in that moment. I mean, we always need to stand up for ourselves, but we're also analyzing what it means to stand up for ourselves. We're analyzing if we're being hypersensitive, if we're being bossy, if we're being controlling just for the sake of getting our way. And again, we're also analyzing the flip side of that, of are other people being bossy? Are other people's egos out of whack? Are other people struggling to learn that lesson of balance of the self and others, of learning when to compromise, when to stand firm? So these are some very interesting energies. And like I was saying before, with Sun in Libra for the past 25 days, basically, we've been experiencing a lot of changes in ourselves. All of us as individuals, we've been learning when it's okay to nurture other people, when it's not okay, when it's unhealthy, when we need to let other people just do things on their own, when we need to let other people let us do things on our own, what it means to be an individual, what it means to be part of the collective. And again, a lot of really deep emotions have been coming up with that Pluto square of the Sun, more so in the first part of Libra. So especially September 22nd to about October 4th, something like that. So it's been an interesting ride. We've been experiencing a lot of changes, truly a lot of changes. With the whole government shutdown, we've been seeing in action that whole Uranus square Pluto thing. And again, I must reference, I made a video about this like 2 or 3 months ago, talking about Uranus square Pluto and how that's going to be with us for the next, I think, like decade. And it's really crucial in the development of all of us as individuals in our entire society, our entire planet. How so much is changing and so much is being reborn to better suit us and our needs. So I urge you to check that out if that interests you. But prime example of that, those big seismic societal shifts with the whole government shutdown thing, and Pluto at Capricorn, in Capricorn, doing its work, basically breaking down what we don't need and learning how to do away with those parts that we don't need and what to stick with. So interesting energies, really interesting. And this time, even though these energies have been with us for the past couple of years, and they'll be with us for, again, another decade, and this year during Libra, we've been experiencing these challenges even more so than we were before, and we were learning even more things about ourselves. So I pulled a couple cards. The Tower. Tower. Now, in tarot, this card gets a very bad rap sometimes. It's a very challenging card. It's prison. It's prison in the short term. It's really breaking out of prison. If you look at the imagery for the card, it's and of course, 15, the trump card, the devil, is really prison, being shackled and chained. So the Tower is breaking out of that. But of course, breaking out of prison is a very violent process. It can seem like a very violent process. And as you can see, whoosh, burst of lightning and whee! But this is also a very beautiful card. It's us freeing ourselves, even if we have to do so by violent means. And I mean, I'm not advocating violence here. I'm just saying that it can be it's kind of shocking, the changes that are happening and the changes that have needed to happen. But ultimately, we are escaping. So this section of Libra, this section of the year, this past month, has been really great for us doing away with that which we don't need. It's a really big theme for this month, not just as individuals but collectively as well. And we'll just keep seeing with Uranus square Pluto more and more changes, and especially about 3 months from now, in January, when Sun is conjunct Pluto, we'll be seeing a culmination and a lot of changes from what we've just been experiencing, specifically with the government shutdown, but also as individuals learning how to balance ourselves and others. And this is, right now, is a very big time, with that eclipse, even if it's just a penumbral eclipse, and it's happening during a full moon, we're really, we're learning how to embrace our power. Mars and Aries, the Two of Wands. We're learning how to find power in a situation that is stripping us of power, in a very tough situation, struggling. But ultimately, embracing what we can do, what we can accomplish, what foundations exist that support us, and how to build on those foundations, and how to make something solid of a very tenuous situation. Sun in Libra, and we've had a lot of water energies going on. Energies have just kind of been flowing. It might have this past month been really hard to find solid ground, and again, not just societally, but as an individual, to find something to hold on to. But of course, that's the whole lesson of air and water energies, which is very fluid. As the ancient Greeks said, it's a wet energy, air and water, as opposed to dry, earth and fire. Of course, fire isn't the most stable, but still, there's not that flow as much, with air and water, which is much more tenuous, nebulous. Again, hard to pin down, just like any, water and air signs would know. So we've been coming through a very a very tough time, truly. I mean, it has been a tough time. A lot of, how to put it? A lot of confusion of whether, how to balance being an individual and yet being with other people. And that's the lesson of Libra. You know, Sun in Libra, every year we go through this lesson, you know, this growth of learning how to balance, how to harmonize your needs and other people's as well. And sometimes, you know, the scales tip a little bit one way and you got to balance out again, and sometimes the other way. That's life. And it's been a challenging month, truly, for all of us with these energies of learning how to balance. So, I mean, we've had oh, what's that called? A grand cross? I think it's called a grand cross, when we have basically a major planetary energy, a major astronomical energy, I should say, considering the sun's a star, diametrically opposed. And so from Earth, our vantage point on Earth, one direction we have, you know, Pluto and Capricorn taking us in one direction in our life. And then opposite that, we have Jupiter and Cancer taking us in another direction. It's like, whoa, Cancer is taking me this way, Pluto's taking me this way, what? Add to that, of course, Uranus and Aries, and then Sun in Libra. We literally have tension all around. And we've been pulled in 4 different directions at once, all of us, you know, and of course in our own lives it manifests in different ways. But overall, we've been learning how to break out of prison with all these different approaches. It's a beautiful thing, squares, because they offer a reward for all that tension. So we've been taken in those 4 different directions. But ultimately, and that's a square, by the way, when we have, what is that, 90 degrees? 90 degrees apart, basically. And so when we have a grand, I want to say it's called a grand cross, but don't quote me. Basically, when we have those 4 directions pulling us, there's deep rewards because we learn different ways to approach life, different ways to approach situations, ourselves, especially ourselves and especially others in relationships, considering Sun in Libra. And so this full moon is a big culmination for everything that we've been through. We've been through the roughest part of it. You know, where now it's smooth sailing for us out of Libra as we move into Scorpio in about 5 days or so. So that's good news. Yay, we made it. Yay, 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 yay. Beautiful. And wherever we are on that journey, that's exactly where we need to be. So, good. We made it. As long as we survive and just get through it, that's all we need to do. So, yes. Let us pull a couple more cards to get some insight on how, like I've said before, a full moon is essentially half of a lunar cycle. We have the new moon, which we had about 2 weeks ago, moon in Libra, moon conjunct sun, and then about a week ago we had first quarter, when essentially it's the first quarter of the entire cycle of a month. So where are we right now? We are at the full moon stage, and in the next hour or so from the Pacific Standard Time of the U.S., we'll be experiencing full moon. Let me see if it changes drastically, if we change where we are. I'm curious. Stick with me for 1 second. Ah, interesting. Doesn't change that drastically. I did not know that. Cool. Interesting. So for at least a ton of parts around the world, I'll have to investigate that more. I really don't know, actually, how much the moon's degrees change. So that'll be interesting. But in any case, around this time, it's 3 p.m. here in Reno, we are experiencing the full moon, the culmination of this cycle. And it's halfway through the cycle. So for the next 2 weeks, we'll be experiencing the resolution of all that we've been experiencing for the previous 2 weeks. And it's really important in this moment right now to take into account, to sit and reflect about what's been going on the last 2 weeks, where we've been at in our lives, how much we've learned about how to harmonize, when to compromise, when not to compromise, when it's healthy, when it's detrimental. Again, we can't go through life expecting other people to compromise all the time, nor can we go through life compromising all the time. It's very important to learn that balance. So, that's good. That's the whole point of Libra energy. That's what we're learning. So right now, it's the culmination of that. This is the high point of how to balance our own needs, especially our own emotional needs, with everyone, with being a productive, healthy part of society, of learning how to balance those two very different arenas of life, of self and other. So, let's see how we've been doing. We had an interesting conjunction. We've had an interesting conjunction of Mercury and Scorpio conjunct Saturn, which has added a huge dose of sobriety to the lessons we've been learning, and getting us all to think very concretely, very practically, and doing only that which matters, and being able to sift through projects, words, thoughts that help us and those that don't. So that's been very helpful. Yay, yay, yay. It can also be very challenging. We've had a lot of tough emotions, 7 of Cups. A lot of weird, deep emotions, a lot of depression. Depression is a very useful thing. When we get negative, when we feel out of it, it's very useful to explore why and how, and learn more about ourselves and learn more about others. We all have bad days, those days where we just kind of need to be left alone and figure out some things. And those are very useful. Don't look at those days as hindrances, Use them as learning opportunities, just like anything in life. There's no such thing as mistakes or errors. We just learn. We survive, we get through it, and we learn. And so, all of us, with that conjunction, we've had to learn that. And it is challenging, but it's worth it, definitely. Overthinking, with all that square energy, that makes perfect sense, and considering Sun in Libra, which is an air sign, overthinking, there's another challenging one. And taking on more than we could chew. This is a Sag energy, right? Yes, Sag energy, 10 in fire, 10 in wands. And we've had Venus in Sag. Yay! Fun Venus in Sag. Just be sure to balance it, to ground it, to be practical, and that Mercury conjunct Saturn has really brought that home to us. And we're leaving that conjunction, but we're still in it. We'll be for at least a couple days, and it's always a good lesson to bear in mind, to internalize that. Yes, it's fun to go on all these different adventures, but let's make sure that we're getting something out of it. It's very crucial. And all of us are learning this in some form or another in our lives. So keep that in mind about other people too, to be understanding if they've taken on more than they can chew, and not to, I told you so, or anything like that. It's very important for us to be understanding in this time. There's a lot of complicated, challenging energies going on. So it's just good to bear this in mind. We also have a lot of beautiful energies, a lot of progress being made intellectually, emotionally, a lot of just beautiful beneficence, a lot of beautiful benefit. Jupiter in Cancer is a lovely energy that we've had for, I don't know how many months, maybe like 7 months or so, and we'll have for another year. So yay, that's been helping us, and it's been involved in the square too. Cancer. That's funny, and then Jupiter. Hey. So this time has been very nice in opportunities and fortune and having beautiful prosperity in our lives. And even if other parts of our lives are challenging, we've all been having opportunities come our way. And it's important to get out of our way and to let those opportunities come to us and not get down on ourselves and think, oh man, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, or I'm not good enough for this. Any kind of negative thoughts, let those go. Let your life flow exactly as it needs to. Okay? So I think that's all I have to say about that. Get out of your own way and let it all just flow. Progress, work being made. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Considering this is Mercury in Cap. Cap is ruled by Saturn. That Saturn conjunct Mercury. Very interesting this card came up, especially since Pluto and Capricorn too. We've been having a lot of deep thoughts all around the world. We've been having deep thoughts about ourselves, our place in the world, how to contribute and make the world a better place in solid, practical ways. And yet also how to make ourselves happy and fulfilled. We all have our own methods of doing things. And we've all been making beautiful progress in learning how to express ourselves more practically, more technically, without sacrificing our more creative, intuitive sides. So, beautiful. Challenging times, yes, but beautiful progress, yes. I feel like I said that before, so I'm not going to go over it again. This is also a Sag energy, so embrace the adventures of this time. Embrace the crazy wildness that is coming your way. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And know that what's happening now is going to benefit for the next year and a half. I mean, your entire life, but especially over the next year and a half. Actually, really 2 years. And so if you're not quite where you want to be right now, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Give yourself the time that you need for your dreams to manifest, for your goals and all the hard work you've been putting into just living to manifest. Beautiful things are coming our way. We just have to go through these challenging times to set the stage, to plant the seeds, for that prosperity to come about. You can't get anything without hard work. So work hard and don't fret. We're going to get there. We're going to be able to see the rewards for all the work that we've done. Okay. And everything I just said, to frame it in the context of, again, the self and the other, to learning how to balance those two is very important. And so knowing that, yes, as individuals, you're going through tough times, but so is everyone else. Always. We are always learning. We are always going through tough times, and we are always having beautiful energies come our way. So even if now is a little bit more tough than beautiful energies, well then it's going to balance out. That's the whole point of Libra, for things to balance out. So we've really learned so much collectively, our entire planet, over this last month. Yeah. So that has been the tarot reading for this full moon. I wish you a very beautiful, lovely, fantastic full moon and penumbral eclipse, and I'll leave you with that. Namaste. Full moons are wonderful to meditate on, by the way, and just kind of clear and just get a hold of this incredible emotional lunar energy that exists right now. So, fun! Alright.